Hello, my name is Janice. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to do about a 45-minute practice, a little gentle seated movements, warm-ups for the body. And we're going to focus today on balance. So a couple of things that you might want to bring to class today might be a block or a towel or blanket. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that you could use, and then you can see what you have around. So could be like a 2-inch block or a cushion of any sort, like this, kind of squishy. This is a 3-inch yoga block. If you have one, it's great, really handy for today. But if you don't have one, a folded up towel would do, or you could even use a folded up blanket, which I have behind me, but you could use a blanket, and that's fine too. So maybe something like this. Could even be a book, you know, for something not too heavy. Personally, I think a towel, if you don't have any actual yoga props, would be great. And just kind of put that aside for now. Good. All right. So I'm just going to take a moment. And so I just wanted to talk briefly about the fascia in the body and how we can kind of help sense the body through this sensory organ. And it's pretty much your newest organ, and it's everywhere. It's all around your organs and your bones, around all of the joints. And what we know about the fascia is that it's kind of the most sensitive tissue in the body. So it reacts before your muscles do. And if we have tightness or an injury, the fascia will go from movable to very tight. And so this practice today is to immobilize or kind of hydrate and relax the fascia. In this case, this means that we don't want to push the body beyond a limit of comfort. So you might take a movement and it might be like, ooh, clunk, or oh, that's a bit sensitive. And I'm going to maybe encourage you to back off and do a little less with that movement. In particular, we're going to do some movements for the fascia around the shoulder today. And so we'll start with a fascial tapping exercise. And so this just kind of helps us get in touch with the connective tissue in the body. And connective tissue likes movement to keep it hydrated and movable. But it also likes sort of gentle pressure and compression. And that maybe you could think of that like a massage. You know, you massage your foot or you massage your body, you're pressing in the tissue and moving it. And in this way it can help create a little more fluidity in that tissue. And so I thought we could do a little bit of tapping on the body just to see how that feels. Avoiding any areas of the body that don't feel comfortable. And then we'll just sit back and notice and sort of take a moment to get centered. So you might use the palm of your hand and you're just going to tap on the body. And so you could start out lightly, but to some areas of the body you might be a little more assertive. You might even go for the back of the calf muscle. That's it. Inner thighs. Go into the side body, and maybe even up to the waist or the side ribs. You might even take them on 1 or 2 fingers just to gently tap around the chest. In the thymus area, the gland here behind the breastbone, maybe up into the chest, maybe in the shoulder. Start tapping down the arm and under the arm, the other arm, maybe down the arm. Good. And then we'll finally go back to the thighs, giving them a little more assertiveness here. Good. And then just taking a nice deep breath in. You might even just close your eyes for a moment. And just taking a moment just to notice how the body feels after that little bit of tapping. Yeah, just taking this moment. If your eyes are closed, you might be able to take a little more deeper awareness into the internal body. Just noticing how you're feeling today. And just knowing this is your practice, meaning you can leave something out if it's feeling uncomfortable. You can modify something. Good. And then when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, I'll invite you to open them. And we're going to just start with a little warm up for the upper body. So just those little shoulder rolls up, back and down. So think of the shoulder sliding forward, up, back, down. So if I do a really large range of motion, I got a bit of clunkiness there. So I might do a smaller movement, just to invite in a little gentle movement here. Good. And then we'll try a tension release. So this is when we actively tense up a muscle and then in breath. Exhale, relax. And you can try that 2 more times for the shoulders. Inhale the shoulders up. Exhale. Maybe one more. Very good. Yeah, and then we'll take a moment, shoulders rolling up, back down, elbows close, palms up. So this position encourages the shoulder to slide down and under. And we'll just start with that little opening for the rotator cuff. So that external rotation from the shoulder. Just try that a few times. What you could do is even cross the arms over in the front and maybe alternate which arm crosses over, just to see what that's feeling like. Very good. Great. Yeah, and then take a moment to come back to this position and the hands come to the thighs. Very good. So let's address the lower back. Lower back from sitting. Often we get lower back pain. So if we sit up tall, I'm sitting a bit forward in the chair, so I'm not right at the back of the chair. And I like to do this one every week as a release for your back. So I have my feet flat on the floor, knee under ankle if you can, hands on the thigh bones. I'm going to take a breath at center. On the exhale, I'm hinging at the hip crease to come forward and then letting the heels lift. And I can feel a little extra stretch in my lower back. And I'm going to slowly come up, heels come down. And then as I lean back a little, chin to the chest, I'm going to lean back. And that recruits some core. So I'm going to sit up, lean forward, heels could lift to stretch your back. Good. Coming up, heels come down, leaning back, toes might lift. Think of a rocking chair. So we're really moving from the pelvis. We'll talk a little bit more about that today in relation to our balance. Sitting up, leaning back, good. But moving the pelvis is also important for back care, just keeping the fascia around the back open, movable. And the back fascia, sometimes it gets a little bit tight and stiff. Good. Very good. Now this time as we come up, we're going to just take a resting position. So as I lean forward, I might take my forearms to my thighs, lace the hands together. You could draw your chin into your chest here. And then you could gently do some very, very small, very slow movements for your neck. And if this feels like it's too much or not comfortable for you, you could just keep your head chin tucking into your chest for a moment, just to give you a little stretch in the back of the neck. Taking one more breath here. Good, when you're ready, hands on the thighs. I'm going to press into the thighs to come up. Good. All right. So let's go into our spinal movements. We do these every week, and these are really just the foundational movements for the spine. And then we're going to do a spinal warm-up from standing today as we work into our balance practice. So I'm going to start with my hands on my knees. I'm going to sit up really tall. You might have the chin looking up a little, but I'm going to encourage you to keep the back of the neck open. So you can see that the back of my neck is still nice and open, and that's great. But what I often see is that's not so great. There's really no benefit to overextending the neck, especially if you have a neck injury. You might even just be looking straight ahead. The chin might go up just slightly, but just be really mindful of that we don't need to overextend the neck for any reason. All right, so I'm going to take my hands to the knees, sitting up tall. There's where the chin might lift as I look up. Now, as I slide the hands towards my knees, I'm going to encourage you to kind of slouch and lean back. Okay, so you're going to inhale, sit up. Exhale, sliding the hands forward, leaning back. Let's try that one or two more times. And sliding the hands forward. Good. That's it, last time. Good. And as you come all the way back up, little shoulder roll. Good. All right, so let's do a little moving twist. So we're going to start with the hands on the knees, just choosing one hand. Take a breath in. To exhale, sliding the hand towards your hip and turning to look over the shoulder. Inhale to center. Exhale to turn. Now that breathing sequence is just a suggestion. As long as you're just taking some breaths, that's fine. So just be aware of sometimes when we're doing new movements, sometimes we don't even notice we hold the breath. So most important is to just breathe easily and comfortably. If you'd like to add the sequence of breathing in sort of tandem with the movements, feel free to do that. Inhaling to center, exhaling to turn. I'm going to do one more on either side. Inhale to center, exhale to turn. Good. Yeah, very good. As you come back to center, I'm going to widen the feet. So my feet are a little wider. I've got a little bit of a wide angle, and the feet are turned out slightly. Adjust yourself in your chair so you feel comfortable and supported. We're going to do a little side bend to stretch your back. So I'm going to take both hands to one thigh, and I kind of turn to face that leg. And we're going to slide the hands down and back up again. Noticing that I'm keeping my head in line with my heart and my torso. So I'm trying to avoid letting the head drop below the heart. So that's just helpful for keeping the eye pressure and the blood pressure sort of constant and stable. Yeah. Let's try one more. You go as far as you like, but keep noticing I'm not dropping the head down. Good. I'm going to do the other side. We did 4 on that side. Let's try 4 on this side. Turning. And just go as far as you feel comfortable. Go slow. Notice where you sense the stretch. Could be in your back. Could be somewhere else. That's it. Good. What are you sensing in the body? Knowing that the sensations that come up for you might change from day to day when you're moving. Also, the more we do these practices, the more awareness we build. Keep that in mind. Good. Okay. Wonderful. Now we'll keep the feet wide and we'll do a side bend. So I'm going to lean over. I'm going to use my forearm. It might be your hand. I'm going to let that forearm lean. So I'm getting a little stretch on this side of the body, opposite side. And the arm might come around and slice around in front of you and over. And then back. And then if that felt all right, maybe your shoulder feels good going up and over. That might not feel good. And if that's the case, keep it slicing in front. Yeah. Good. When you're ready, we'll come up. Do a little shoulder roll. Good. I'm going to do the other side when you're ready. So I'm going to sit up nice and tall. I'm going to lean over, resting the forearm. Getting that little side stretch. Arm comes around. You could follow it with your eyes if you choose. You could stay with the slicing arm in front, or the arm could go sort of up and over like it's making a letter C. Some shoulders will not want to do that. And this is not a class to force. So if the body's saying no, I'm encouraging you to be curious about what would feel comfortable. Good. Wonderful. Good. As you come back, we'll walk your feet in. Yeah. All right. So now I thought that we could do a little work for the hip joint and then we'll focus a bit more on the shoulder. So I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to lift one heel. I'm going to place my hands behind the leg. I'm going to lean back and bring the leg. I'm using my arm muscles to lift this leg. I'm going to do some circles with my foot. Pointing and flexing. Good. Now we'll warm up the hip joint. So start small, just as if you're moving the knee a little out to the side and back. Good. That's it. And then we'll add a little circle. Good. And you can try the other direction. And then lastly, we'll do a nose to knee. Really, it's just in that general direction. They don't necessarily have to touch. Mine is not going to touch my nose is not going to touch my knee. I'm going to take a big breath. And I'm going to curl in. Good. And I'm going to sit up tall and let the foot come down. Good. And I'll try the other side. So I'm going to lift the heel of the other leg that I'm going to work on. I'm going to lace the hands behind the thigh. Lean back, bring the leg with you. Use your arm muscles to hold that leg up. So your leg bone can be really relaxed here as much as possible. A little movement for the foot. Pointing, flexing. Good. And then a little movement of the hip joint by moving the leg a little out and in. So this is moving the hip external, internal movement here. And we get some shoulder movement or some hip movements here. Shoulder is coming up next. Hip movement here, rolling the ball and socket. And the other way. Good. Wonderful. And then taking a moment to rest that leg when you're ready. Coming down. Great. And then a little shoulder roll. Okay. So we're just going to do a few more things for the shoulder, and then we're going to come to standing and do a little spinal warm-up standing, and then some balancing practice. I'm going to start with my hands at the heart center. So this first one, we're going to open up the inside of the shoulder and work with the shoulder blades moving up and down a little bit. So there's two movements. The first movement, I'm going to let the arms come out to the side, sitting up tall. And then the hands come back together. You could choose to draw the chin to your chest a little. That's optional. You could keep your head at center if that's more comfortable for you. Second movement, arms are going to slide a little bit up towards the sky. Notice how the elbows gather a little bit. And then they gently slide back down again. That's it. So I'm going to open and close and up and down. I'm going to try that one more time. I'm going to open and close and up and down. Good. Wonderful. Now we're going to move the palms away and keep the fingertips touching. I'm going to press the pads of my fingertips into each other, and this creates more of an active engagement. So even though I'm kind of relaxed here, also be mindful of the elbows. If they're out to the side, the shoulder tends to get tense. So I'm going to let the elbows relax down, press into the fingertips a little bit, just enough effort that I feel kind of an engagement in the chest. And then this movement's coming right from my shoulder. So the movement of the shoulder, someone said it's kind of similar to the motion of chopping wood, but I've never actually chopped wood, so. But what this does remind me of, I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, but my Barbies when I was growing up did not have movable elbows. So their arm was stuck in this position, and if they wanted to take your arm overhead, it went overhead like this. And essentially that's what I would encourage you to do, is just articulate the shoulder here. So yes, there's a bend in the elbow, but that just stays now. And now we're moving from the shoulder. It could be quite small. So your movement might be here. And for some people, the movement might be a little bit bigger. Good. Let your comfort guide you in this practice. That's it. Good. Last one. Yeah. Good. And then you can bring your elbows close and your palms up. And then I thought we could just do a little, draw some circles. So you might take a mudra. You can try the index and the thumb touching. Yeah, it's a Yana mudra. And then from here, we're going to just, like a conductor in an orchestra, we're going to do some larger movements here. So again, your shoulder might not want to go that big. Maybe your movement is a little smaller. It could be like you're drawing a smile. That's it. Good. Last one. Good. Now, let's turn the hands the other way. I just want you to try that a few times, noticing when you turn your palms to face your legs, if you allow, your elbow and your shoulder are involved in that movement. Sometimes I'll see people who do this, but I'm really encouraging you to just see what natural movement happens. If you turn your palm and your wrist to face your legs, the elbow rolls out, the shoulder rolls in. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring my hands a little higher. I'm going to encourage my elbows to be heavy. And now it's like drawing a rainbow. There it is. Good. And so if I went all the way around to the bottom, and then all the way back around to the top, there it is. It's that full movement for the shoulder. And again, your circle or your egg-like shape could be this big, or it could be a bigger movement. For some people, they could be doing quite large movements. If it feels good, great. Doesn't feel good? Choose another range of motion. That's it. Good. That's the last one. Very good. Yeah, we'll take them hands back together. Now, if lacing the hands feels all right, you could lace your hands together, palms face forward, and then leaning into your upper back, your chin coming into your chest for a moment. Take a big breath. Good. And as you look up, relax your hands. Good. Wonderful. Good. So let's take a moment here, a little shoulder roll, to address getting out of a chair. And then today we're going to do a little bit of standing. If today you decide that you just want to observe the standing motions, feel free. And once we are standing, I'm going to encourage you to look around your space and find a way to create a safe space for you to move around it. So getting out of a chair is the first part of this. And so we're starting on the edge of the chair. Now, for our exercise so far, I've had my knee over my ankle. Great for exercise, not so great for getting out of a chair. Got to get your heels a little closer so that they can be that leverage that gets you up. So everybody's different, and you've been getting out of chairs your whole life. So if this technique is not working for you, please use what works for you. Could mean you need support from the chair. Could mean give yourself a little boost. It could mean that if you have a chair, maybe you have a walker, or you have something in front of you to hold on to. Might be an option as well. So I'm going to bring my feet back a little closer to the chair. Okay. And then I can sense that if I push into the heels, my body wants to move. But the missing part of this is I want to hinge at the hip crease. So I'm going to hinge forward until I feel more weight in my feet. You could have your hands on your thighs. You could cross them over. They could be using the support of the side of the chair. So many options here. So I'm going to hinge forward, forward, forward. Now I feel more weight in my heels. I'm going to press into the heels to slowly come up. Good. And I'm going to step back here and I'm going to move my chair. But I'm just going to give you some tips on these standing movements and what you might want to do. So you might look at your space and say you've got a countertop might work, or a chair. You could stand. A lot of times when I teach an in-person class, for this part of the class, I would have someone stand behind the chair, just so that you have something just in case. If it's the fact that you want something behind you and in front of you, maybe you have a chair in front of you to hold on to, and also maybe a seat behind you, not too close, but something if you needed to sit down. So, you know, look around your space and make this a very successful setup for yourself, meaning you've got something just in case you need a little touch base. Okay, I'm going to move my chair out of the way so you can see me, but I am definitely encouraging you to have something nearby so that you have a little more confidence working with balance. Okay, so first thing, let's do a little standing spinal warm-up. We did a seated spinal warm-up, but let's try some standing warm-up and see how that goes. So I'm going to start with my feet about hip width apart. They could be slightly wider, whatever is most comfortable for you. But just keep in mind if the feet are too close together, the balance is compromised a little bit. So hip width or even a little bit wider. I'm going to bend my knees just the smallest amount. Hinge at the hip crease. Hands on the thighs. I'm going to press into the thighs gently. And then I'm going to let the arms reach up and around. I'm going to do that a few times. I'm going to bend, press, and up. I'm going to try one more. Press and up. Good. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to do a first little twist today. And I'm just going to use a block, but this is where you could be using a blanket, a folded up towel would work great. And you can do it without. But I'm going to just explain what the benefit of this is. So I'm going to place the block in between my thighs. Now, if I place it lengthwise and it's hitting my knee, it's not comfortable, you could have it the other way. Inner thigh bones is what we're working on. And so I kind of like it this way. My legs are just long enough. But if it's feeling like it's hitting your inner knee or up in the inner groin and uncomfortable, then you can place it this way. If you were using a blanket, for example, you could just fold a blanket up and place that between the thighs. And I'll explain why this is helpful. And we won't keep it there the whole time, but just taking a moment. Okay, so you've got your block. I'm going to place the block in mid thighs. Whether you're using a towel, that's fine too. So I'm going to bend my knees and kind of relax here. Also, your feet are fairly important. So I always like to try balance practices without shoes on and bare feet. That's going to be different for everybody. So if you're choosing to wear shoes today, you can just omit this little tip for the feet. So what I usually do is I'll lift up my toes. Now I'm wearing toe spacers to help keep that spacious foot. If you didn't have toe spacers, what you would do is you'd lift up your toes a little bit, spread them out, and then press them down into the floor gently. And now as I straighten the legs, I'm going to hug that block about 50% effort. What that's going to do is engage some core muscles. Yeah, and it's going to find pelvic neutral. And I can really feel my heels rooting down. I can roll the shoulders up, back, and down. I'm going to bring the arms out to the side and see if I can hold on to my shoulders. If this does not feel good for you, hands on the hips, okay? All right, so now I'm going to take a big breath in. I'm going to gently turn. Inhale to center and exhale to turn. Inhale to center, exhale to turn. Inhale to center, exhale to turn. Good. That's it. Good. Come back to center. Arms come back to your sides. Little shoulder roll. Okay. So now I'm going to go into a little side bend. I'm going to keep the block here for now. You can remove this at any time. If you decide, I don't really like it, you can get rid of it. It's totally fine. Really think of the heels rooting you down, sternum lifting, shoulders roll up, back, and down. I'm going to choose one arm. If your shoulder doesn't want to go up, you can do this with your arms at your side, and you could just do a little side movement sliding like so. So think length first and a little bit over. Okay, so if I'm going to add an arm, I'm going to extend my arm up. I'm going to relax the shoulder, reach through the fingertips, big breath, and a tiny bit over. I'm not collapsing into the side body. So this, getting a nice opening here, but this is not collapsing. This is good, but I find a lot of times people kind of collapse over, and that's a little hard on the spine. So think more about length, shoulders relax. Sometimes the shoulder likes to be here, so you can just notice. Okay, stretching, rooting into the feet, lengthening first, and then a little stretch over. And that's it. Good. Very good. So let's try that one more time on the other side. Stretching the arm up. Could even be hand on your shoulder if it doesn't want to extend. I'm going to root down through the feet. Relax through the shoulder, reach through the fingers, big breath. And I'm up and a little over. Good. Yeah. Last time on the other side, reaching the arm up, relax the shoulder, rooting to the feet, up and over. Very good. Good. Wonderful. Now I'm going to bend the knees. I'm going to take out my block. I'm just taking out my feet. Very good. Okay. So we're going to do a little practice here for balance. And so we'll come back to using this in a little moment. But I wanted to start out with some tips for you in general. Feet about hip width apart rather than having them really close together. The other thing is, if you're ever feeling off balance, the first thing I would encourage you to do is bend your knees. Like take a moment to think about being on a surfboard. And this can really kind of sink the weight down into the feet, kind of reground the body. Then once you're stable, you can come back up again. So that's one option. So you might have a chair in front of you or at the side of you. Please feel free to make this a supported practice so you feel confident you can challenge your balance without falling over. If you got a chair nearby, sometimes if someone's feeling off balance, as soon as they touch the chair, they feel great. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so if I start out with my feet about hip width apart, sinking into the feet, okay, lift the toes, spread them out, place them on the mat or the floor. Slowly straighten the legs. You could pretend that you've got that block there, that you're hugging it and your heels are rooting down. Good. Okay, so we're going to try a little challenge here. So the first part of this challenge, I'm going to bring my feet together. Okay, so once my feet are right together, it's already slightly more of a challenge. Okay? Then you could even swing the arms. And then the other option would be to let the head turn. Now, if this creates any dizziness for you, please just keep your head at center. It's an added practice, but for some people, this is just not fun. And yoga should be fun. Good. Good. Now I'm going to take a moment and pause. Okay. Now I'm going to choose one foot. You choose. And I'm going to slide it a little bit forward. It's as if my feet are puzzle pieces together. I'm going to try to stand up tall once again. I might get my arms swinging. Might get the head moving. And just see what that feels like. For you today, it might be just being comfortable staying stable here. Okay? Good. Now the next part of this is that the foot that's slightly in front is going to come right in front. So now we're walking the tightrope. So once you're here, again, bending the knees, sink into the feet. Once you feel stable, pressing down through the heels, standing up tall. Good. So there's a couple ways that you could challenge yourself here. One way is closing the eyes. And it's pretty surprising how very quickly that is a challenge. That might not be for everybody today. The second thing that you can do to challenge yourself would be to add the arm movement. If this is new and you're already feeling a bit wobbly, stay here for a moment. Good. Now, if you have something that you want to hold on to for this, you can. But just see, I like to bend the knees a tiny bit. Okay. Gather the belly towards the spine or navel to the spine a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can lift the front leg. So I'm just balancing here with that leg lifted for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. And then bring it down. Good. Shake it out. Great thing is when you work with balance poses is that any time you spend standing on one leg is a bone building exercise. So if we want to keep the bones dense and strong, weight bearing activity is really great. So when you stand on one leg, you really encourage the bone building on that side of the body. Second thing that's really great about balance practices is that they really cultivate focus. Because when you're standing on one leg, most of the time people are not able to make a grocery list and try not to fall over at the same time. So if your mind is racing busy, a short little 5 or 10 minute balance practice can really just help the mind focus in on one thing. And if that one thing is just not falling over. So we'll do the other foot. So starting with your feet hip width apart, bend your knees, sink into your feet. As you press into the feet, coming up, bring the feet right together. Maybe the arms swing for a moment. Good. Yeah, maybe the head turns. You might notice that really does add an extra challenge. Good. And then I'm going to take a moment to rest here. The other foot is going to come a little bit in front. Okay, I'm going to pause. Maybe the arms can swing. Maybe the head can turn. Good. Yeah, just take a moment to pause. And then I'm going to take that foot right in front. Tandem. Like you're on a tightrope. As soon as I go here, I'll just bend the knees a little. Kind of sink into the feet. Think of your roots are in your feet. Press into the heels as you gently straighten the legs. As you pause here, if you're like, yeah, this is super easy for me, then take a moment to close the eyes. As soon as I close the eyes, it's a whole different challenge. Yeah. So you can see that once the eyes are closed, it's a bit of a challenge. And so that's a good challenge to take on if you're ready for it. If closing your eyes makes you feel dizzy, or makes the room spin, or it's just like, oh, I feel like I'm going to fall over right away, maybe not yet, maybe never. So these are all things that you might add in and you might never add them in. So the last thing here, I'm going to bend the knees a tiny bit and I'm going to let that front leg maybe lift a little. I'm going to gently pull the navel to the spine, sort of using some of those core muscles might help you stay stable here. Taking a breath. Good. That's it. Good. And then taking a moment to bring the foot down. And then just shake out your feet. All right, so I wanted to show you tree pose today and a couple different ways that you can try it. And so I'm going to use a block just to give you some options, all sorts of options here. First option, feet are hip width apart. I'm going to shift my weight to one foot. Okay, so you might put your block on the ground maybe on its lowest end first. And then you might just place your foot on the block and turn the foot out. So this is a good option if you're just kind of getting used to tree pose. Okay, I'm rooting into that standing leg. Let the knee turn out on the other side. If that's feeling all right for you and you're like, I think I can do more, you could bring your foot to the lower calf. We're avoiding the knee joint. So I don't want to be on the knee. I'm always below the knee. You do see people who are above the knee. We don't have to go there. That's a lot for the knee. But you just don't want to press on the knee with this foot. So it's below. It could even be this way. It's called the kickstand. So you could have your foot on a block like this, or you could just have your foot on the floor like this, or the foot's a little higher. Now to add the challenge, bring the hands together. So it could be that one hand is on the chair. If you're using a chair in front of you, you could have one hand on the chair. Yeah, very good. And then take a moment to find a place of focus. In yoga, it's called the dristi. Where are you looking? So if you're looking all around and the eyes are moving, or if you're looking at something moving outside the window, it might be a bit distracting. I'm encouraging you to find a place, maybe a spot on the floor, maybe 3 to 4 feet in front of you, maybe a little further in front of you, where you can focus for a moment. Yeah. And then if it was comfortable, you could even allow the arms to rise up. The arms could open. There's lots of different trees, pointy trees, open trees. Rooting down, taking a breath here. Think you're rooting through the standing foot, lengthening through the crown of the head. Big breath. Very good. And then the arms come back. So again, you might just be here. Still a wonderful practice. Still bone building, still encouraging a little bit of hip rotation. Still a wonderful balance for focus. Very good. Good. Shake it out. Shake out that standing leg. And you might not want to hold it as long. If it's causing you any pain, it's time to come out and take a break. So you could put your block on the other side if you wanted to try this. Okay. All right. So I'm going to shift my weight into that one foot. I like to bend the knee first and kind of sink down into that foot and then straighten the leg, rooting down through the heel. And then you might put your foot on a block and turn the knee out. Or if you didn't have a block or you just want to put your foot on the floor, it could be here. And you might stay here. Or here. Or if you're feeling, I think I go further, maybe the foot comes to the inner calf, below the knee. Think of rooting down through the heel, lengthening through the crown of the head, arms come together. And then the challenge is, if the arms extend, this changes your center of gravity. It's going to add some challenge to the balance. Taking 2 or 3 breaths here, knowing that trees move around, they wobble. That's fine. Even in this position, if I'm starting to feel like I'm going to lose my balance, I'll just bend the standing leg and I can usually regroup myself a little bit. Good. And then bringing the arms back to the heart center. Good. And back down. Good. Shake it out. Excellent. Good. All right. So taking a last little balance practice here. And this is sort of a more dynamic movement. So I'm going to start with my hands on my hips. And then as we progress, if you're like, oh, that's easy, you could bring the hands to the heart center. So what I'm going to do for this movement, I'm going to take one leg and I'm going to step a little to the side, shift my body weight. The other leg's going to lift. You could be holding on to your chair in front of you. Okay. Then I'm going to take that leg that's up in front. I'm going to tap the floor, lift. Now I'm going to put that foot back on the floor, shift, lift, tap, lift. Stepping, lifting, extension, tap, and lift. And then the slower you do it, the more of a challenge it is. Tap, lift. Stepping, lifting, tap, lift. Good. Let's do one more. Step, lift, tap, lift. Side, lift. Could be here. Tap, lift. Very good. Wonderful. And shake it out. So let's just do a little last movement for the moving of the pelvis and a little hip movement. So I'm going to keep my knees bent, put my hands on my hips. Okay. And I'm just going to see if I can let my pelvis kind of tuck under and then swing back a little bit, just in a very small range of motion. So this would be some standing pelvic tilting. That's it. Good. That's it. 2 and 1. So just from the side, if I have my hands on my hips, I'm just kind of letting my tailbone tuck a little bit and then move back within a range of motion that's comfortable for you. So it might be really small, or it could be a little more pronounced. My knees are bent. Good. And then we'll take a moment to work on the hips. So you might even widen your feet a little bit more, and you might just kind of bring your hips around. So you can bend your knees and stick your bum back a little bit just to kind of warm up the hips a little bit more. Good. Last 2. And you could even go all the way around. Could be a smaller movement. Good. Try the other direction. Very good. Good. So I was mentioning today that the pelvis is really important for your sense of balance and awareness of balance. So the reason that I had you use a block or something, I think last week I mentioned this as well, was that your pelvis kind of counteracts the rest of the upper body to help you not fall over. And so sometimes our pelvis is really tucked under, and that means that the upper body might be rounding forward. The other thing I see a lot is people who are over exaggerating, chest popping out, and now there's quite a sway in my back and the pelvis is tucking back really hard on my back, and over time this can cause some problems. So the reason I encourage you to use something, whether it's a towel or a block, is just notice if you place that there and I bend my knees, and if you can place your hands on your hips, as soon as I gently, and I stress the gentle, and I'm not necessarily wanting you to squeeze this hard, but just squeeze it enough until you sense something happening. So I'm going to straighten the legs, and I'm going to start gently hugging the block with my inner thighs. Okay, so for me, my pelvis went from tilting a little bit forward. When I'm squeezing that, I'm feeling my pelvis come into neutral now. And so my tailbone's lengthened, but I don't have a tucked pelvis. So this block or blanket or what have you might just help you start to see where is your pelvis neutral. Your pelvis is kind of like a bowl. So when I lean forward a little bit with the pelvis, your bowl would spill forward. At neutral, when we're squeezing this block, if your bowl was full of water, your water would not be spilling out. So that's just a little tip to kind of help you feel a little bit of grounding. And you can even use it when you're sitting. And next week I'm going to talk about how to use the block for some seated practices. But for today, we'll take that out. And then the last thing, we talked about this last week a little bit. This balance practice is just about starting to strengthen the muscles in the feet. So we're going to just work with gently lifting the heels and gently bringing them down. And then if you choose, you could add the arms. So maybe for today, you could inhale the arms up, exhale the arms down. Maybe you need to hold on to something. Maybe you want to leave the arms out. That's it. Or it could be one hand on the chair, one arm moving. Yeah. And then you could switch arms. Good. Let's just do 2 more. Inhaling up, toes or heels lifting, exhale down. Good. Last one. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Very good. Yeah, good. Shake out the feet. Wonderful. So let's just come back to your chair for a moment and do a really short relaxation to finish our time together. So you can come around to the front of your chair and then just take a moment to have a seat. Yeah, very good. Yeah, let's do a little stretch for your back. So hands on the thighs. We already did this in our beginning warm up. Knee over ankle, big breath in. Exhale forward, lifting the heels. Ah, what a nice stretch for your back. So as soon as the heels are lifted, I can feel more of a stretch in the lower back where you might get a little discomfort. Good. Yeah, and then just coming up when you're ready. And then one last movement here. We'll do the hug. This will release the shoulders. So you can give yourself a hug. Same idea. I would take a big breath. And exhale, fold forward or hinge at the hip crease a bit and lean forward, heels lifting. Good. Maybe even the chin coming in. Yeah, and then coming up when you're ready. Whichever arm's on top will switch. Big breath in. Big bear hug for yourself. Sitting up. Hinging forward. Maybe the heels lifting to add that extra stretch for your back. Good. And coming up. Good. It's taking a moment. Little shoulder rolls. Let's take 3 big sigh breaths with the tension release here. So big breath in. Big sigh. Yeah, try 2 more like that. And 1 more. Good. And then I'm going to encourage you to sit all the way back in your chair, get comfortable for 1 minute of practice, 1 minute of relaxation. Even in a minute of just mindful breathing, we can really start to access that part of the nervous system that can help rest, digest, repair practices or processes in the body. So you could sit all the way back in your chair, and you might close your eyes for a moment, and if you prefer to keep them open, that's fine. You just rest your hands in your lap, or they could be placed on the belly. And for today, I just encouraging you to find your breath, your spontaneous, natural breath coming in and out. To just notice how that is for you. Yeah, do you breathe in the nose, out the mouth, usually? Are you breathing in the nose, out the nose? Just noticing that spontaneous breath as it comes in and out. Yeah. Noticing now the weight of the body on your chair. Noticing the support beneath your feet. Maybe taking a moment to notice the temperature of the room on your skin. And then finally, any sounds that you can hear in the space you're in. Maybe even the sounds outside your space. Maybe outside noises. I can hear birds outside. I've noticed the birds are a lot louder lately. I can hear my dog snoring in the other room. So sound meditation is a wonderful practice. I'm going to finish with the Tibetan bowl, or the singing bowl. But one thing to keep in mind is even if you just go and sit and open your window, and you just allow your awareness to focus on what can you hear. What are the most distant sounds you can hear? What are the sounds closest to you that you can hear? And you allow your awareness to just kind of continually observe all the layers of sound. It's a wonderful way to keep in the present moment. So for this last moment, you might keep your eyes closed, or maybe you're curious about what I'm doing. I'm just going to encourage you to hear the sound of the bowl. And what do you hear? You might take your hands to your heart center for a moment. Taking one big sigh breath, thanking yourself for making the effort to do the practice. Acknowledging your body and all it does for you every day. And maybe one thing you're grateful for in this moment. So I thank you so much for your practice today. I hope you come back next time. And if you subscribe to the page and link the notification button, you will be informed when I add a new video. And over the next few weeks, I'm going to add some strength training videos with TheraBands as well. So stay tuned. But we'll try to bring a gentle sort of chair yoga practice to you every Sunday. So thank you for being here. Namaste. Have a wonderful rest of your day.